All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Abdie Mohamed, and today's session is called Talk Tech, Speak Human. All right. A little bit about me before we get started. I always believe that when you're talking to people, you should always introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are. Right. We're not strangers. We're all friends. Right. We're at BITCON. It's a family affair. So a little bit about me. I'm a lead cloud governance engineer at Lockheed Martin. I support all things cloud technology, cloud security, cloud cost management, architecture decisions, etc. I advise plenty of engineering teams on how to use cloud technology in a cost and secure, efficient way. Okay. I have been in the industry for about 7 years now, and I've worked in different roles, and it's been a joyride. It's been a joyride for sure outside of certifications and professionalism because I think we should talk about the cool stuff. Besides that, I love to travel. I'm a big time traveler. I traveled to Paris last year during the Olympics with my friends last summer, and I kid you not, it was probably one of my most memorable vacations I've ever gone on. The reason being is because I've never been to the Olympics. The Olympics is a big deal, right? And no, I didn't get to see LeBron James play, and Team USA play. Didn't get to see him, but it's pretty cool to just see, what the Olympics meant to everybody around the world. You get to see everybody from all over the world, different countries, all coming together for the sake of a good old competition. So it was fun, really enjoyed Paris. I'm a big tea enthusiast as well. I love tea. If you have any tea recommendations, please send them to me. I'm always looking for recommendations. I'm a big anime fan. I know. Some of you guys are probably cheering right now. Some of you are probably disappointed, but it doesn't matter. I'm a big anime fan. That's what it is. All right. My big favorite animes of all time, Dragon Ball Z is the GOAT. I mean, there's no debate there. I'm a big Monkey D. Luffy, One Piece fan. Jujutsu Kaisen is also pretty awesome. Attack on Titan is also pretty cool. Chat, by the way, if you have a favorite anime, feel free to put it in the chat. Would love to see your favorite animes. All right. And yeah, I have 8 siblings. That's another fun fact about me. I have 8 siblings, 7 sisters, and a younger brother. Right. So I'm the second oldest, and I'm very proud to be here, and I'm looking forward to learning and engaging with you all. All right. All right, today's agenda. We got an agenda. I'm not going to leave y'all hanging. All right, we got a plan. We're going to address the communication problem. From there, we're going to talk about what is communication. From there, we're going to go into frameworks, very basic, nothing extravagant, right? We're going to go very basic frameworks to improve your communication. And then we'll talk about additional tips and resources. Something I want to emphasize. If you are in this session and you're looking for, architecture reviews, code reviews, CI/CD pipelines, hack the box, this is not it. This is not that session. This session is purely focused on communication. If you're here for that, you have come to the right room, and we are going to get the ball rolling. But real quick, let me check the chat to see how y'all doing. Good morning from ATL. Beautiful Dragon Ball Z the GOAT. Come on now. Come on now. You said Ruibus. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I'm gonna have to check that. Demon Slayer. Oh my God. Gabriel. Okay. Naisha, One Piece. Naisha, come on. Come on. Come on. We got T. Death Note. Oh my God. Death Note. Yeah, this is my tribe for sure. Y'all love to travel. This is my tribe. I am in the right room. Praise God. I am in the right room. Mm. Richmond's in the house. Okay, I'm in ATL. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I'm not from ATL. I'm from San Diego, California. I brought the Cali swag to Atlanta, and I am here for the good time, not a long time. All right, we'll keep the ball rolling. But this is beautiful to see. I found my tribe. All right. So going back to our slideshow, let's address the communication problem. Okay. So you ever get frustrated and with a coworker or your colleague or maybe in a relationship, and you tell them, "Hey, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Oh, you understand what I'm saying?" Well, you're just so upset where it's just not clocking to them. They don't get what you're saying, right? By the way, if you know what this movie is, you've passed the vibe check. You're pretty cool. If you know where I got this from, you are pretty cool. You are cultured. You are awesome. Ultimately, I want to share that communication is a challenge. It gets frustrating, right? It can get really frustrating, right? How well you communicate to your customer can reflect on whether you get that promotion, whether you win that new business deal, right? how well you communicate can affect whether you get that new job, right? Or that new relationship that you're looking for, whatever you're looking for, right? Communication is literally a life skill. It goes beyond the realm of professionalism. Okay. So let's look at the facts. I brought some statistics. Okay. I'm not going to read these statistics to you. I'm confident that you all are phenomenal readers. But ultimately, what we're seeing here, right? We're seeing a lot of money being burned to the ground because of poor communication, right? Teams are not communicating effectively with one another. That determines, as a business, right? That determines how well you build good products, right? Strong communication can ensure a strong product or maybe a service, right? If you're selling a service, strong communication, right, can lead to a higher quality service. If you call Apple support, for example, you call any company for support, and those folks that you are talking to, not a robot, but a human being talking to you, and they're effectively communicating with you, they're taking care of your every need, you're more than likely to do business, continue to do business with that organization, right? Now, if the person on the phone, right, the insurance folks, right, you're talking to someone that's in insurance, you're talking to the insurance company, and they're giving you a hard time, they're not, you don't feel seen. You don't feel seen as a human being, and you're talking to them on the phone. What are the chances of you continuing to do business with that organization? Not really high. All this to say, poor communication costs a lot of money, right? That's the issue we have here. Poor communication costs a lot of money. It costs you as an engineer or a practitioner or a business owner. It costs you opportunities, right? If you can't communicate your value to an organization on how your work, the tasks that you've done, are tied to business outcomes that the leadership has specified. If you can't do that, well, guess what? You're not getting that promotion. How do I know? Because I lived it. I have lost promotions before because I didn't communicate my value. All right. Put a one in the chat if we're feeling it. If we're feeling it, let me know. All right. So what is communication? Ultimately, right? Defining communication, it's the exchange of an idea. Okay. And there are different vehicles for communication, right? Different vehicles, different types, right? This is public speaking. That's my friend Rob Richardson, founder of MidwestCon. Cool, brother. Check him out. Check out the work he's doing in the Midwest. This is what we call public speaking, right? This is a form of communication. Okay. We have another form of communication, right? Nonverbal communication. So we just talked about public speaking. That's verbal communication. This is nonverbal communication, right? Can anyone in the chat tell me what's going on here? What is going on here with Patrick? What is he communicating? Check the chat real quick. What is Patrick communicating? Upset, angry, frustrated. He's upset and pissed. Yes, Jerome was on the money. He's upset about something, but not exactly. He's upset. Yep, his body language showing for yes. Desmond on the money. On the money. So Patrick, right, is really upset. He keeps getting called, and folks are asking, is this the Krusty Krab? He's assuming that he's being called the Krusty Krab, which is not the case. Patrick has not developed that critical thinking muscle, so to speak, and I'm keeping it lightly, right? That's nonverbal communication. We do nonverbal communication all the time, right? Our posture, how we look, our facial expressions, that communicates something. That's another form of communication, right? Next, you have written communication, right? Gmail. I use Gmail. Written letters. Any folks in the chat still write letters today? No judgment. This is an inclusive community, right? Any messenger app, right? Like you have different forms of communication. The key is to know when to use which, okay? Our mediums. So we got more mediums, right? These are pieces of technology we can use to communicate, right? Right now, I'm using, I believe, I forget the name. What was it called again? I am using Ring. I'm using Ring. Ring. Shout out to the folks at Ring. If you're on this call, we appreciate you, right? I use Zoom, Google Meets, WhatsApp, right? You can use these forms of communication. You got Slack, Teams, right? Think about Google Slides and Instagram. I'm using Google Slides and Instagram right now, right? I'm using this to visually communicate an idea, right? I'm using this technology, I'm using these slides to illustrate, right? This is visual communication, right? I'm visualizing, help you guys visualize and help y'all understand the story I'm trying to tell you here. One thing you'll also notice too about these tools, right, that you can use, for example, Slack, Instagram, and Teams, right, or WhatsApp, they are asynchronous communication mediums. What does that mean? That means we can communicate, at different times. I send you a text, you reply when you get the chance, right? It's not, synchronous as in we're hopping on a phone call like we're doing right now, or a video call. This is synchronous communication, where we're communicating in real time. Whereas asynchronous communication, that means, you send me a message, I reply when I feel like it. Well, let me not say when I feel like it, when it's appropriate to reply, right? Hopefully I reply soonest, right? Don't be that person leaving folks on red. That's rude. I just want to throw that out there. Be a kind human being. Don't be me. All right. So we talked about the cost of poor communication, right? I've shared with you my experience. I lost on promotions because I didn't communicate my value. I didn't write, right? I didn't write down how exactly the work that I do at the company I work for, how that contributes to the bottom line, right? And because of that, I've lost on promotions. The cost of poor communication is your brand, really, right? It's your if you're a Fortune 500 company on the stock market, guess what? Unhappy customers, can affect your stock price, right? If the sentiment is, you're a horrible provider, right? And it's going viral on all social media platforms, that's not really good for the stock price. Investors are probably not going to be happy, right? The cost of poor communication, you lose trust, right? When you talk to, a Chase Bank or Wells Fargo on the phone, you're trying to get something resolved and you're being mistreated or you're not being communicated with properly, you're not going to be very happy. Matter of fact, let's just say you're an engineer, right? You're building a web application. You're building a web application, a website, for a customer, right? And because you're not making sure that you're communicating effectively, guess what? They're going to take their business elsewhere because you're not keeping them updated on all the different features that you're building into said product. You're not consistently updating them. You're not communicating effectively, right? All this to say the cost of, poor communication is catastrophic. There are a lot of people who are world-class engineers who can build anything, but unfortunately, because of their poor communication, they are not promotable. They're too risky. They piss customers off. They rub people the wrong way. They don't know how to communicate value. They don't know how to tell who's their audience if they're talking to engineers or if they're talking to directors or VPs. They can't distinguish the two. And that's a red flag, right? So we understand the cost of poor communication is huge, right? So what's the promise of good communication? Well, the promise of good communication is really this, right? I think all of you here, y'all all leaders, right? In some capacity, everybody in this a group here is a leader, right? When you have good communication as a leader, right, you can provide clarity to your teammates, whether you're in a management position or as an individual contributor, right? When you provide clarity to your teammates, right, now you have a clear vision. Now you can build trust. Okay. Once you have trust with your team, because you've effectively you're a good communicator. Once you have trust with your team, right? Now that you have trust, we can influence. It's not the other way around. You gain trust from your teammates. That's when the influence kicks in. People try to start with trying to influence with their team. No, 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 no. You can't just immediately influence anybody. You have to build trust first. Why should I listen to you? Right? You have to build trust, right? So you provided clarity, you built trust with your team, and now you're able to influence them. Now, this is where things get exciting, right? When you influence within your organization, right, you get to build products and services faster. You're more efficient, right? The speed to go from 0 to 1 is faster because you are clearly communicating and you're influencing. And if you're building products and services faster and at a higher quality, guess what? That's growth. That's growth for your career. That's growth for your teammates. That's growth for the company. Everybody wins. All of this is essentially the promise of good communication. Okay. So before I hop into communication framework, just want to check out the chat real quick. Oh, y'all can't see me. Okay, okay. All right, one moment. How about now? Can y'all see me now? Testing, testing. Yes, yes, yes. All right. I'm probably going to fire my internet service provider. I will probably fire them after this. Can y'all hear me all right? Oh, y'all can see me moving. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, my internet service provider, I'm going to rip them a new one after this. I appreciate y'all holding me accountable. All right. I will check the chat soonest. Communication better with the face visible. Alex is calling me out. He's right. He's right. Desmond's also calling me out. Oh man, I'm getting grilled in the chat. Take it easy. Take it easy on the young man. Oh man. Oh man, yeah, I found I have found shout out to Alex. I have found my tribe. I appreciate y'all. All right, so communication frameworks. So communication frameworks, these are very simple frameworks you can use in your everyday life. You can use this within your career as a professional, regardless of your vocation or discipline. And you can use this in your family life, right? I have a bunch of younger siblings. I have to communicate effectively. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose my mind. All right, let's talk about frameworks. Everybody say Kia. I know. I probably won't be able to hear you, but just say it out loud. Kia, right? Know your audience. Who are you talking to? Right? If you are communicating, sending a message, you need to know who your audience is. Who is the intended recipient of said message, right? You need to know your audience. I remember one time I had a call with some directors. It was like Q1 of 2024. And I was getting really into the weeds, the technical weeds. I was talking about, Linux operating systems, encryption protocols, and all that fun stuff. And 5 minutes into the call, a director said, "Hey, Abdi, only got 5 minutes left. Can you please tell us, what we can do to support you?" Right? I was approaching this conversation as if I was talking to engineers. I wasn't talking to engineers, I was talking to directors. And with directors or VPs or any management leadership, right? You want to avoid getting to the weeds unless they ask you to. You want to keep everything straight to the point, right? And this ties into my next point. Bluff, right? Bottom line up front. If you have a call with leadership or your investors or whatever it might be, and it's not an extremely technical audience, then you need to start the conversation with the bottom line up front. Hey, we saved the company 10% by using this new piece of technology. Hey, we've hired 3 new folks on the team. We're going to be delivering this new product earlier than we anticipated, right? What are the outcomes? Hey, we've increased our security posture because we've been able to continuously patch all of our pet servers, right? What's the bottom line? How does that affect the company, right? Bottom line up front, right? You got to know how to bluff. All right. KISS, that's another one. Keep it simple, stupid, right? This is very, very, very important. So the reason why people, for example, I'm sure y'all have heard of Alex Hormozy, right? The reason why people gravitate towards Alex Hormozy in comparison to many other entrepreneurial figures online is because Alex, if you notice, just pay attention. He never uses big words. Never. He keeps his communication so simple. He keeps it at such a readable level, right? If you read his books, the vocabulary is not, it's nothing extravagant. He keeps it very, very simple, and that's intentional. He wants as many people to understand his message, right? He wants the most amount of people to understand his message. So always try to keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Don't try to sound smart. Notice when you try to sound smart, it doesn't sound like you know what you're talking about. And I've experienced this too. I've talked to engineers where, they're just throwing buzzwords at me. And I'm like, "Hey man, that sounds awesome, but I don't know what you just said. Would you mind clarifying that for me? Can you dumb it down for me?" Right? You want to avoid using big words as much as possible. Granted, there are scenarios where you'll have to, throw some vocabulary, some big words in there, but ultimately you want to make sure that, you know, you communicate in a way that's easiest to understand. Okay. It is said that, from Albert, I believe it was Albert Einstein, like something along the lines that you know, like, the highest understanding of something is to be able to explain it very simply, right? And if you can't explain something very simply, then that means there's room to grow in your understanding of said topic. Okay. All right. Checking the chat here on the frameworks. Jasmine brought something in the chat. I spoke for the first time this year. My speaker friends gave me this advice before getting on stage. Come on now. Shout out to your friends. Shout out to your friends. Oh, I'm frozen. I'm frozen. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Shout out to your friends, Jasmine. They are real ones. Keep them close because they are showing you mad love. Okay, that's the type of friends we want. We want friends who will be very supportive of our endeavors, who get us ready for any speaking event. That's amazing. Beautiful to hear. All right. All right, let's see. Good friends, supportive and wise. Love it, love it. Okay. Now we're gonna get into some of the technology side of the house, right? So leveraging AI for your communications. So AI is here. AI is not going anywhere. It is here to stay, right? We gotta adapt. We gotta adapt. Okay. So you can leverage AI for your communications. You can, but you gotta do it in a very tasteful way. All right. I see a lot of folks use Chat GPT for their LinkedIn posts. How do I know? Because they have plenty of M dashes. Number one. Number two, I see a lot of emojis. Number three, I see a lot of bolds. A lot of bolds. You can tell. And it's even worse when you know the person in real life and you and you see their LinkedIn post and you're like, bro, I know you in real life. You don't talk like that. No way. That's not you. That sounds like a robot. Right? So you can use AI for your social media, but use it in a very tasteful way, right? Validate the output. I think, Gemini, Copilot, Chat GPT, all these tools are awesome. Okay. I use, for example, at work, I use AI for my email. What do I mean by that? I'll write out a draft and I tell AI, the AI tool of choice, the Gen AI tool of choice, I'd say, hey, what I need you is to polish this, maintain the same voice, maintain the same level of formality, and polish this, right? How well I communicate with said tool will determine the output, right? So if you're going to use AI for your email communications to leadership, to your teammates across the board, you're trying to craft a very good message. Well, you have to first have a good draft, and then you put that draft inside the set tool. And then when you put that draft in said tool, what you have to do is make sure you communicate effectively what you're looking for out of said tool, right? Because sometimes what you'll do is you'll put an email in ChatGPT, right? And the voice doesn't sound like your voice. If you read it, it doesn't sound like you. You want to make sure you maintain your voice, right? You want to maintain the authenticity. Again, there is a way of leveraging these tools in a tasteful way. What you don't want to do is send emails in which it's very, very clear that it's not you, right? You don't want to do that. That's that's an easy way to lose credibility. I'll say it right here. I'll say you using LinkedIn on LinkedIn, if it's clear that you're using Chat GPT, that also loses credibility in my opinion because you haven't taken the time to write the post. So if you haven't taken the time to write the post at all, why would I bother engaging? Why would I put any effort in engaging? You haven't put the effort to write something of substance if you're using Chat GPT, right? Just something to consider. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is prompt engineering versus context engineering. Right. Prompting is simply going to your Copilot, Gemini, right, and just asking it questions. That's simply put, that's prompting. Context is it says, hey, I'm writing a research paper. Here's all the different papers that I'm looking at, different articles that I'm looking at, and you're giving it all this context, right? Or you say, hey, I have this architecture diagram for this cloud web application, and I need you to look at this architecture diagram and let me know where there might be gaps. What am I not seeing? Or are there opportunities for cost efficiency? Are there opportunities for, improving security, right? You give it that context. Now you get a higher quality output. So something to consider too. The more context you give these tools, right, the better the output that you'll get. Okay. All right. Pamela, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand enough. Come on. Come on. Shout out to the chat. Tina, gotta take that stuff out. You got take the M dashes out, please. I'm begging you. God bless America. I'm begging you, please take it out. That's not it. Oh man, yeah, yeah. Yes, Tina, it's very good for creating a good base PowerPoint presentation. I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah, it's funny because people think that M dashes, like if you look at LinkedIn right now, right, and I'm calling out LinkedIn specifically because I'm on LinkedIn the most. You can see very clearly, right? Like the M dashes, no one was using it before 2025. Let's be real. Let's call a spade a spade. No one was using M dash, or there were people using M dashes, but like it wasn't very frequent. You would think that M dashes were invented this year. Shout out to LinkedIn. That's right. Shout out to LinkedIn. Like, let me see if I can make an M dash. Oh no, I made it into a bullet. But y'all get the point. Y'all get the point. I tried typing an M dash in the chat, but it made it to a bullet. But yeah, y'all get the point, right? The M dashes really do give it away. So definitely you want to make sure you're proofreading these outputs, right? Same way if you're having, even Ring doesn't like M dashes. Exactly. Ring doesn't rock with M dashes. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. As I was saying, though, even if let's say you have an application, right? You created using these tools to create codes, right? You code, right? You have to proofread the code. You have to proof it. You can't blindly trust these tools, right? You can trust them, but don't blindly trust them. Trust but verify, right? That's the philosophy. One of the leaders I worked with here at Lockheed, he always told me trust but verify, right? Trust but verify. Always trust but verify, right? Because if you have code that's AI generated and you haven't done your due diligence in the quality assurance, security assurance, and making sure that it's reliable code that works in your production environment, and that app goes down, well, it's gonna be a field day. It's gonna be a field day. You can make an M dash using Alt plus. Wow, Austin is so clutch. I have found my tribe, ladies and gentlemen. I have found my tribe. Yeah, yeah. Make sure. Yeah, yeah. We got to stay connected for sure. We got to stay connected. All right, we got about 12 minutes left. Let's close this out. Let's close this out like Kobe Bryant in the fourth. Okay, because I'm a big Kobe fan. When I shoot a paper ball, I yell Kobe because that's what we do. All right, resources to improve your communication. If you didn't hear anything I told you today, this is probably the most valuable slide, right? Communication, just like programming, just like physical health, just like strength, you know, you only become a better communicator if you work on it, right? I have to work on it. I still work on my communication today, right? Communication is a life skill. It's a muscle. You have to develop it, right? You can't expect to, be good at something without putting in the work, taking the courses, putting in the reps, shooting in the gym to get good at said thing. That's not how life works. If you want to be a good engineer, you have to be shooting in the gym like a good engineer would. You have to build that portfolio. You have to practice almost every day, right? Communication is the same thing. So how do you improve your communication? Well, a few things. We're going to start off with Toastmasters. I assume that some of you all have heard of Toastmasters. Some of you may have not. Toastmasters is an organization dedicated to building the next folks or leaders via communication. All right. Toastmasters has been around for years. I'm talking, I think Toastmasters has been around since like like the 30s or 40s, 1930s and 40s. And Toastmasters has been around for a while. Okay. So definitely recommend Toastmasters. Okay. It's low cost. And really, Toastmasters, you can go speak at a local Toastmasters club. Just Google it. There's plenty of clubs all throughout the whole world. You go to a Toastmasters club, you meet all these beautiful people from all walks of life, and really you get an opportunity to share on stage whatever stories that you might have, right? And you get feedback in real time. You get feedback on your communication skills in real time, right? You take that feedback and you come back the following week or the following few weeks and you share that speech again. Guess what? You get more feedback and you keep sharpening the wheel, or you keep sharpening the blade, right? Toastmasters is a valuable organization. I've used Toastmasters. I'm a proud advocate of Toastmasters. I strongly recommend it. Toastmasters is global. So look up Toastmasters in Google and look up your local chapter. And it's low cost as well. It's not extremely expensive. It's very, very low cost. All right, Stage Academy. So I've used Stage Academy to improve my communication as well. So Stage Academy was founded by Vin Zhang. Vin Zhang is a global speaker. He's probably one of the greatest speakers alive right now. Look him up, Vin Zhang, VINH space GIANG, Vin Zhang. The man is an artist. He is a magician when it comes to this thing called communication. He's so very, very talented when it comes to teaching communication, personal communication, interpersonal communication, public speaking. you know, he's just so talented and so skillful and such a he's like a Jedi master when it comes to communication. I've used Sage Academy. It's about 1,200. It's a live course and it has a bunch of modules. It's really great. I'm not getting paid for this. It's not a paid ad. I'm a happy customer, and I'm just wanted to share that with you all. Okay. Lastly, study great communicators. One of the greatest communicators ever to walk the earth, and he's still here today. He's still here today. Shout out to the legendary Les Brown. Les Brown. I mean, what more can I say? I mean, Les Brown is the man. Les Brown is the man. He's one of the greatest communicators on the planet. The guy knows how to speak to people's hearts, to their souls, inspire people, speak life into them, right? Speak greatness into people. Les Brown's a world-class communicator. I have watched so much of Les Brown's work. I continue to watch Les Brown's work because he inspires me every day. So if you want to improve your communication, I think Toastmasters is really good. Stage Academy is really good. Learning from great speakers like Les Brown and plenty of others out there. Learn from great speakers. That's how you improve your communication. I'll also add reading and journaling are really good to improve your communication. They're very, very valuable. Reading expands your vocabulary, right? The higher level vocabulary that you have, the more words that you have access to in your toolbox, right? So reading is very, very important. I recommend reading as much as possible. Reading a book, right? It could be anything. Read a book. Read some literature, and that will improve your communication greatly. Another thing you can do is, besides reading a book, is listen to podcasts. Podcasts or audiobooks. Those are pretty good too to improve your communication, right? Communication, like any skill, right? It's something that's developed, and it only gets good if you put the time in to develop that said skill. Okay. All right. Takeaways. Poor communication is bad business. Good communication means big business, right? Poor communication, you're losing money. But if you're a world-class communicator, you can make so much more money. And not just money, you can service so many people at a high elite level, right? We talked about frameworks, right? We talked about Bluff. We talked about KISS. We talked about Kia, right? We talked about these frameworks and how these frameworks, all right, they've been around for such a long, long time, right? These frameworks is what I use in my everyday life. And if I use these frameworks effectively, I can get my point across, right? How well we communicate determines how far we go in life, how successful we become, okay? Lastly, AI is great, but please, for the love of all things holy, proofread the output. Proofread the output, okay? Proofread the output. I'm gonna say that again, proofread the output. There are folks who just blindly take what AI says and they run with it without proofreading what was said, right? Does it sound like me? Does it sound coherent? Does it sound like a robot? Are there plenty of M dashes, emojis? I don't speak emoji, right? No one speaks emoji. Well, some of y'all might speak emoji. Who knows? Some of y'all are very talented in this chat, right? But always proofread what's coming out of the AI tool. All right. And lastly, approach it like a professional. Okay. Approach your communication like a professional. What do I mean by that? Take time every day to read. Take time to develop this skill, right? Intentional time. Maybe it's 30 minutes reading a book. Maybe it's 30 minutes listening to a podcast, right? Maybe it's 30 minutes practicing a speech that you'll be having at Toastmasters, right? Spend time, invest time like a professional would. Right? The same way how LeBron James practices every day, or Coco Golf practices every day, her vocation, her sport. The same way she practices that is the same way I would recommend practicing communication. Right? Every day, spend 20 to 30 minutes of your self-development, right? Improving your communication, and watch opportunities come your way. Watch the world open up to you. All right. Thank y'all so much. This concludes the session. Okay. This concludes the session. I am on LinkedIn. Okay. Please, please add me on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn aficionado. I love LinkedIn. More importantly, I love celebrating all the beautiful winners here. So please, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as well. I'll drop both. LinkedIn, Abdie Mohamed. Heads up though, Instagram, I'm like half a step less professional, like 2% less professional. It's more of my daily life. All right. Add me on Instagram. Let me add that. All right, added that as well. But yeah, so all this to say, folks, English is, I was listening to Jensen Huang from NVIDIA the other day, and he mentioned that the most important language to learn, is in fact English, right? If you've been a software engineer for years, I don't do a lot of software engineering myself, but if you've been doing software engineering for years, there's always a new programming language, right? And the hottest, latest, and greatest thing is English, right? We keep abstracting every level up. Now it's English. How well you can communicate, right? How well you can communicate will determine the quality of outputs of these tools, right? If you want that competitive edge, work on your communication and watch you kill the game. All right. Thank you all so much. This means the world to me. And y'all keep being great. Did anybody have any questions too? I know I've been yapping for the longest. Any questions, please. I'm happy to support. I'm all about supporting the community here. Will I provide the slides after this session? Of course. Listen, Pamela. There's no gatekeeping here. Okay, we don't do gatekeeping here. Not here. Not at BitCon. There's no gatekeeping here. We are sharing the slides. We are sharing the slides. We are sharing the slides. Raf is in Toastmasters. Beautiful. Corporate Toastmasters Club for employees. Lovely, Monica. Lovely. Yes, 120 for the year for Toastmasters. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So, Don, there are no Toastmasters. I don't think there's any Toastmasters for tech specifically, but I think the real value of Toastmasters is being with people who work from across different industries, right? Because if you're constantly talking to people in tech, right, you're 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 going always talking from a tech perspective, if that makes sense, right? So I always recommend by going to Toastmasters, you take advantage of it by talking to people who might be police officers, lawyers, doctors, former athletes, right? It expands your vocabulary even further because you're talking to people from all walks of life, right? That's why I love Toastmasters. All right, all right. Seeing more LinkedIn chats. Yes, yes, that's a good point. There are Toastmasters clubs that do meet via Zoom. When I joined Toastmasters 2.5 years ago, I did it Zoom for a little bit. Eventually, I said, "Hey, you know what? It's time to go in person," and I did it in person. And it's a lot more nerve-wracking in person. That being said, you'll get a lot more development in person. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. But friends, thank you so much. Y'all keep being blessed. Keep being great. All right. Tell a friend to tell a friend that BitCon is where it's at, and we appreciate you so much. Love, love, family, love.